and that sick demon tongue is like licking her up. Please, I would rather die a million deaths than get tongued down by a jackal demon. Welcome to another episode of A Ghost in the Magazine. I'm Stef.
And I'm Elle.
We're doing not Immaculate. We're doing The First Omen. The First Omen is what we're doing. Okay.
Is it in the zeitgeist right now, like this kind of thing, or is it just that like one of them was trying to rip off the other one? That's because they were very similar.
Yeah. So obviously Immaculate came out first, and it was like, we haven't had like a haunted nun movie. Well, actually the Nun 2. But like, they're like different. What I was immediately excited about for Immaculate was you didn't know what kind of movie it was. Like with the Nun 2, you really know what you're getting yourself into when you go into that. One, because it's the Conjuring universe, two, because it's a sequel. So I really love that kind of movie that goes hand in hand with like The Witch and Hereditary and Midsummer. You don't know what you're getting yourself into, and that like building sense of dread. You figure it out. It's not demons, right? It's not really supernatural at all.
Yeah.
And it was funky and fresh. We already covered it on this podcast. So you look like you have thoughts.
Well, I looked at the production schedules for these. It says Immaculate started production in 2014.
Oh.
They started they announced that there was going to be a prequel in 2016 to The Omen. But it looks like they didn't start developing it till 2022. So there's like a big time thing between that, and I think it's coincidence.
I think so too. And I know, okay, I do think it's coincidence. The thing about The First Omen is that there's 4 Omen movies. There's already a formula for it. There's only so many reasons why like a monastery or like a nun factory would be doing these things, right? There's only a finite number of reasons that they could come up with, and I think Immaculate did really well for being outside of the supernatural. Like they could have leaned into the supernaturally crazy, but they leaned into regular people crazy. Like,
well, they did
I'm a
both. I
scientist
feel
crazy.
like just because of there was kind of, well, I think it was implied that probably when she went through her purity investigation that they did to make sure she was a virgin when they brought her in, which I don't think that they actually do that, because you can be a nun and not be a virgin, but I think that's
Yes.
when they impregnated her. But
Yeah.
they definitely tried to say it was the nail, it was very
Yeah.
heavily implied in some of this stuff, just that she touched the nail with her bare hands. I feel like, because she's the only one who did
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
I feel like they tried to, and I think that is the thing about faith in general, is seeing the supernatural in the normal. And that's very interesting in that respect, symbolically. This one,
It
though.
is. Yeah, I know. For before we go on to this one, that is true, but it's very strange to me, because even when you think of all the different sects of Christianity, all the different kinds of Christian that you can be, and like I remember being in this conversation with someone about a church that I used to go to, and they're like, "Oh, well, we don't go to that church anymore because they were telling us it was wrong to teach the youth about the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit as like separate pieces. It's
Yeah.
all one, and like if you talk about the Holy Spirit in a certain way, then you're looked at as crazy." And I'm just like, we're talking about a being in the sky who answers our prayers, and you're gonna argue about the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit? That's crazy to me. But you know what I mean?
Well, I think that is the thing about Christianity. I was raised evangelical Baptist, and I have like this certain framework in my brain that came from being raised that way. But my take on all of it is every single denomination is reading the book wrong and fighting over things in the book that aren't the important parts of the book, and
Yeah.
like that. And that is how we have all these different denominations, and it's because there are ways to use this to twist it and gain power over people, when the core of it is that all the power is within you and your relationship to God, Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit, whatever. That is where all the power in the universe is in that relationship that you have personally with that being. And that is something that gets diced up and compartmentalized, and people focus on things and they start wars over it, and it's sick in my opinion. But it is also just the history of this religion, and it's the history of religion in general. I think that the interesting thing about like all of these things is it's you can still see these symbols in it, and they can still have wide meaning and very interesting storytelling. And that's the thing that I realized watching these movies, because I
Mm-hmm.
am very much like somebody who was pushed away from like organized religion because of my upbringing. um I found myself just like really, I love the storytelling elements that you can make
Yeah.
with these hierarchies and stuff, because as much as like I'm not a fan of it in real life, there's interesting stories to tell within it. And I do think that this was a interesting movie. I stand by the the YouTube link I sent you though. That image was very much Mae West giving birth to a hand on WWE circa like 1999.
Okay. But outside of that, did you like this movie?
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, great. Because I've been foaming at the mouth to talk about this movie since I saw it in the movie theater. I dragged my friend Stephanie. I usually just go and see horror movies by myself,
Mhm.
especially if they're for the podcast. But thank God she was with me because nothing beats seeing this movie in the theater.
Oh, I
Nothing.
bet.
And it was a full theater. And from the moment I saw the first teaser of this, I said, that's going to scare the shit out of me. This movie is going to scare me in a way that I haven't been scared in a long time. Literally, one of the things I was just talking about in the underwater episode that scares me is pregnancy in a horror situation. And this is the
Yeah.
ultimate situation. I
Yeah.
said, I may pass away in this movie theater. I may pass away. And there are going to be people who say that it's not scary, whatever. The discourse I've seen about this movie afterwards, it's mostly good things. This
Mhm.
hardly ever happens in the horror community. There are still people talking about how they fucking hate Hereditary. There's still people
Really?
talking about it. And I'm like, Hereditary's good. It's a good
Well, see,
movie.
I think Hereditary and this movie, they get at me viscerally in a different way that I
Mhm.
guess scares me, but it's not. So Hereditary for me, as somebody with allergies, that
Uh,
immediately scared I'm not scared of the demon stuff. I think that's interesting storytelling. Don't get me wrong. I'm not mad about it. Um, I do think that they misrepresent that particular demon, just knowing
yeah,
what I
we
know
see
about
that.
it. But it's still interesting storytelling, and I don't have a problem with it. But Hereditary, because they add that element of
Mhm.
that anaphylactic reaction, terrified the shit out of me. The first time I watched Hereditary, I stopped it after that.
Yeah.
Had to stop and walk away.
I want to
um
sleep here when it
it's
happened. I
it's
want
a
to sleep.
very terrifying depiction, like even without her head coming off, up until then I'm still like panicking internally, because I'm like, this could happen to me, this could happen, like, and that's why I'm always very careful about what I eat. um and this one, what it was for me is I have like this visceral thing. My mom was training to be an x-ray therapist when I was like very young. And I used to read everything on her bookshelf all the time. Like I would go through it all. And she had a book of abnormalities and fetuses that
Oh my God.
scared the fucking shit out of me, because I was like, that the just the probability of that happening, and like what I would always put myself like, what would it be like to be in that mind of that which you can't really do, but that's what I was doing at like, I don't know, I was like 7 or 8 when I was reading that. Like, how would it feel like to be, in that body? And then to see these deformed babies that they kept making. And then they
Yeah.
just kept doing it, and the suffering that it just triggered me in a very visceral level that brought me back to like my childhood.
Yeah.
Um
Same for me. The reason, like, I don't have babies. My sister has three, and I've been there for all of her births, and
mhm.
they were all different. And I've been in there, like I was in there. Okay, but for it's always been like a weird phobia or whatever of mine. Like, it's always had this scary place with me. Like when I was younger, I always tell my mom I'm never gonna have kids. And
Mhm.
it's gone up and down over the years because I used to be married and I've had to think about it a lot. But when I was a teenager, for whatever reason, I had convinced myself that I can't have babies and that if I was ever to be pregnant, so like it would just be the worst experience, terrible things would happen to me, and my babies would be like terrible. So like I don't know why that's a thing, but like I always was just like I can't. And so every every movie I've seen with like birth and pregnancy that's like, scary, it I have a physical response to it.
Yeah.
And this movie, like this
Yeah.
there okay. All right. First of all, I don't know what the actress's name is. I don't want to look her up because I don't want to see anything else that she's in for a while because I want to see her as this. She's a phenomenal actress.
Mhm.
Okay. Her eyes, I say okay a lot and I always have to cut them out. Because it's like every other word. Her eyes are piercing. I
Mhm.
feel like she just really embodies this character. So it's very similar to Immaculate, where she was a child who was closely watched by the church. She was an orphan.
Mhm.
She didn't have like that. Sydney Sweeney had like this mysterious accident and oh God saved me for a reason, but she was a problem child because she had these hallucinations and they had to like convince her like ultimate ultimate church gaslighting because y'all know good and well that she's not an okay kid, that you manufactured her with
Mhm.
this. Okay, so also I need to ask because I don't fully understand. Before I rewatched this movie, I watched The Old Omen. I haven't seen it since I was like a kid, the OG
Mhm.
Omen. And um so in the end, the dad he went to Italy and he's like, I need to find where they buried my actual child. And then they were finding the child's mother and it was the jackal. But in this one, the father is the jackal. So, and I may have mixed that
Mhm.
up, but is the jackal like, is that like, how you have the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit? Is it the devil, the jackal, and something else that makes the Antichrist, baby?
I have no idea like uh what the lore is behind this, and I haven't watched The
Oh, you haven't
Omen in
watched
a
the
very
original
long
Omen?
time. Yeah, I haven't watched in a very long time. I was a child last time I watched the
Yeah, me
original
too.
Omen. So like I probably should have done that, but I don't know, like the jackal to me, like it's supposed to be like I don't understand. Like, I guess maybe I'm getting my 13 ghosts
Oh
or whatever
yeah.
mixed in there. But like,
I felt like it was a manifestation of the devil.
okay, that's
Like,
what I was thinking. It was like that seems like a physical manifestation.
yeah. But when it was burning at the end, I don't think it was actually like you can't burn the devil. Like
Mm-mm.
that's silly. I mean, also it's kind of teehee, but you can't burn the devil. So like, okay.
I mean, he
It
lives in
was
the
just
lake of
like
fire.
right, he like bathes shit. right? I feel like maybe my mom should just not listen to this episode.
No, probably
Um,
not. I feel like we're saying that a lot. Like,
I thought she just honestly I didn't even know my mom like partook. I thought she was just proud of me for doing a thing, but no, I think it's the clips I share, honestly, so I've
yeah,
stopped doing so many because my family is Christian, okay? My aunt, my
yeah,
uncle, they both are pastors. They have their own churches. And like I love God, but at the same time I love horror movies. Like I'm not gonna shut down the podcast. I'm not gonna censor what I I watch, and I'm not gonna censor the feelings that I have about possession movies. Like if I want to talk about it
yeah,
and I want to be silly when I talk about it, I'm gonna do it. Um it heals the part of me that was terrified for so long. And like yes, this movie scared me, but it didn't scare me because like how The Exorcist scared me because I was 13 and I thought that I could just get possessed at any time. And then like what are my parents gonna do? They don't know any. I'm like, my dad doesn't know any exorcists. You know what I mean? Like we're screwed if that happens to me. It scares me in the pregnancy way, you know?
mhm,
She finds herself in this place. She doesn't live there. It's like a school.
yeah,
She lives in like an apartment with another nun to be,
mhm,
that bitch. And you know, she works at the school and there's a special little girl, Carlita, who you're led to believe is the one.
mhm,
They say that the Antichrist needs to be a boy, patriarchy, and the best way for him to come into this world is for the beast to mate with its own offspring. So it's they had all of these deformed babies, but literally she's the oldest, this main girl, she's the oldest. And why
mhm,
didn't they stop there? Like, or she was number 5. Why wouldn't
yeah,
they stop there? And they're talking about Carlita, and Carlita's not old enough to
mhm.
have the Antichrist baby. Why would they send her away? Why would they keep going? That part doesn't make any sense to me.
I think they're operating like a, you know, uh Victorian aristocrat having like 7 sons to make sure that he has one to take
Oh, they
his
were trying to make a
estate.
boy.
Yeah, well, no, I think that they could have been still trying to make a boy, but I do think that they were continuing to have babies just in case something happened, because they were
Oh,
having, obviously they were deformed coming out, but sometimes the thing is with genetics is sometimes things don't express on the outside. Sometimes you have
uh,
profound issues, but you don't know about it until like something comes up, especially with the way that medicine is and how we don't really care about people. We just let them suffer, and then we just put a band-aid over it and don't actually fix the root of the problem a lot of the time, because there's not money in that. There's only money in like, you know, anyway, I have a problem with the American healthcare system, but I guess this is international, so I don't know if
yeah,
Italy's
who's
the same
paid
way.
for these devil babies to be made? Like, where's that money coming from? Because the
The
whole
church,
thing,
obviously,
okay,
and the church, the Catholic Church, I think, is a good villain in a lot of this thing because they got deep
yeah.
pockets. That's the reason why they're like the ultimate like upper class, like could have a, you know, private like bat cave type of thing, you know, like
Mhm.
they have access to all this money and all this power politically. Like they can hide a lot too because they're the Catholic
And
Church.
they have. And that's why our Bibles look the way they do, because they have. Shade. Shade. Okay. The thing that really gets me about the Omen series is because if you're going by Christian lore, the battle's already won. The devil doesn't win. The devil doesn't win at any point. Jesus always wins, right?
Hmm.
And that's what happens in the last Omen movie. As much as as far as I can remember, I've only seen that one once, and I'm scared to watch it again because Sam Neill scares me now. Like Sam Neill scares me. I'm afraid of Sam Neill. And I'm not embarrassed
Well, that would
to admit that.
ultimately mean that these guys, their aim came to be because they didn't just want to bring the devil in for the hell of it or because they were
Right.
cultists. They wanted to bring more people to the church to show that the light would overtake the dark.
Then you know what this reminds me of?
Hmm.
In Velocipaster, okay, when they released what was it, cocaine, like to bring people back to the church, wasn't that the whole thing? It's so backwards.
I don't remember. Yeah.
I think it was something silly like that. Like they
Yeah.
got people addicted to cocaine so that they would go to the church for help.
Well, I mean, I I don't know anybody that's been on cocaine, but I did have a friend that what had to go into AA because he's fucking stupid and got a DUI and it was part of his thing. And he went from being like mildly just like a knuckle dragging idiot that you had to correct every once in a while to being like a vociferous, like right wing Christian just from going to that AA group. Like to the point where he would rant and rave in front of me about how education is just turning people into liberals and stuff, and like anyone who goes to school is an idiot. And then he would be like, "But not you, Lindsay." I'm like, once it gets in, it's in, and like he was never religious before that.
No, it's crazy, but that's their goal
Mm-hmm.
in this movie. They're doing all of this stupid, dumb, stupid shit instead of actually helping kids. Okay, they're making deformed babies so that they can have the Antichrist. All of these babies have the 666 mark of the beast in
Yeah.
random places. This movie is so good. Is so good, and her journey into realizing that she's actually the one. It was such a fake out. Did you call that?
Mm-mm.
I didn't either.
Or like when she got pregnant, which is obvious, like afterwards.
Yes, after the fact. But like
Mm-hmm.
you never suspect her roommate. Her roommate is like this charm. She really reminds me of Louise from Spring. She has this accent, she's sexy. She's like, we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna be committed to God forever, so we're gonna go get lit in the meantime. And I'm all about a good time. I'm like, yes, put those heels
Yes.
on, honey. Like show your cleavage. Let's go out and let's shake something. But I don't have ulterior motives. I just want her to have a good time because she's
Yeah.
sheltered, not get freaking strapped down and raped by a demon,
Yeah.
and everybody watches.
Yeah.
That
Mm.
was a lot. When she like gets those memories back, awful. When she was like in the crowd, the riot, because there's riots going on at this time, and they're not she's overcome with like the memories trying to bombard her and like the hallucinations, and that sick demon tongue is like licking her up. Please, I would rather die a million deaths than get tongued down by a jackal demon.
What about Dave the Demon though? I'm sorry, Smut has ruined my brain.
Sorry, Dave. I'm not about that life. I don't fault anybody who is. I
I read
don't.
the worst demon smut last night. It was like the worst written shit I've read, but I was like celebrating that I didn't have to read Taltos. And so,
That's so not serious. It's fine. This is trying, I mean, like, this is in the realm of serious. Like, even Immaculate, it
mhm.
was so jarringly ridiculous that it was like a really good time. Like, and good, good. This was just terrifying.
Yeah.
And they have women, like, pregnant women give birth there at the center, and that woman's naked pregnant belly and a whole demon arm comes out her cooch. Scared. I literally was like, ah, in the theater. Oh
That's
no.
the Mae West scene in my opinion.
No. Yeah, when you sent that to me, I was like, because I'm still scared. I'm still scared. Okay. The part I want to talk about the most. The part I want to talk about the most. Okay. And people are gonna think whatever they want. People are always going to think whatever they want. People have different experiences, like all the ghost hunter shows you see, everyone's had different experiences. Some people through their life without ever experiencing anything that is more than just completely normal, natural, no, nothing. And so, they watch scary movies differently than people who are sensitive to that kind of thing because
Mhm.
some people have seen and experienced some things in their life to let you know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that there's other stuff going on in this world. It's not just people. It's not just people floating through. Okay. So all I'm going to say is that the scene that scared me the most, besides the coochie hand, and when I say it like that, it's not serious. It's scary. Okay.
That's how I
When
experience it, so it's okay.
when they were trying to escape with her because it was about to be 6 a.m. on June 6th, and that's when the babies are born.
Hmm.
They're escaping with her, and the enemies hit the car. She peels herself out of there, and it's like too late. When she's like that baby's taking over her because say whatever you want. When people if a person was to get possessed, their eyes are not gonna glow like they be doing in possession movies. It's just not gonna happen. Okay? But when she was it was like taking over her body, scared the actual dog shit out of me because I've seen people do that. And when it took her to her knees, okay, whoa, and the her water broke, I've just I've never felt anything like that watching a scene in a movie theater. Never. Never on this earth. I
You
don't know if
know,
I ever will again.
what's funny is like based on my experiences in my life, I just saw that as like normal behavior while you're in active labor because Jesus, that hurts.
I mean, I'm sure maybe if you had just gotten hit by a car, but she also
Hmm.
like it hadn't been that long. And then when she rips this is not normal. When she rips open her shirt and her belly pops out and descends because it wasn't there
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
And she's growling. Get off me. Get away from me. Get away from me. I would have kicked her. I know it's not her fault. I would have kicked the shit out of her. Get out of here. Get away from me. Screaming, kicking and screaming. Get her away. Ew. It's not my normal reaction to pregnant ladies, but that wasn't a regular baby in there. You would know. Like the
Yeah.
hairs on the back of my neck, I was just like, ugh. No, no.
I think like overall, there were a lot of times where like I wasn't quite sure what was going on, and I
Yeah.
think that it worked in a good way. Like not in a way where like later on I was like what the fuck happened? It was like eventually it kind of explained it. And then it was like,
Hmm.
"Oh, that's actually really fascinating. That was a really good turn in the story." And I think that's the difference between like the ones that will rely on a lot of like ambiguousness versus like something that maybe you don't get it right away, but then when you think about it, you're like, shit, that's what was
Yeah.
going on. That's what was happening there. And I think that is very satisfying as a movie
Hmm.
watcher, like to go back and just be and feel those pieces like fall into place and be like, oh, all these little things that I noticed that were subtle actually have like some place in the story. That is exciting for me. It's exciting as like a reader, a watcher, as a writer. Those things are so exciting to me. And that's what this film did really well. And that's ultimately why I liked it, because it did very much have so many of those moments where I was like, "Oh shit." And I love that. I love that. It kind of hit a bunch of different things on that. And I think I fucking love the like Italian Abbey setting. It's awesome. I'm kind of a sucker for it. That and that way Immaculate hit for me too. I just like I'm definitely the bitch that is going to find some way to like retire to Italy. I don't know how yet. I'm just manifesting it for myself.
Yes. Yes. Freddie, he's getting his passport because I got mine this year,
Hmm.
and he's been dying to go to Peru, but he asked me, "Do you want to go to Italy
Oh
first or
god.
Peru?" Italy. I'm sorry. I know he wants to go to Peru, but I want to go to
I
Italy,
want to
and
go
I've
to
been
Italy so
dying.
bad. So bad, especially cuz
So
I watched this celiac creator on TikTok talk about her experience in Italy because there are so many gluten-free options there. And I'm like, I want to go to Italy because
Yeah.
it's like my favorite food. I love bread and pasta. Those are like my favorite foods, and I hardly get them
I
here.
do. I do too.
I would give this movie a solid 4 chuds, I think.
Oh, I'm giving it 4.5 chuds. I think I really love the way that it ties into the already existing Omen series. I don't think it bodes well a lot of times if somebody wants to take an established, there's 4 movies. I don't remember what the fourth one was about, but I don't think it bodes well when people try to take an established like series and make a prequel to it. But when I saw the trailer, I had so much faith in it. I
Mhm.
said, this is gonna slap. This is gonna slap. This movie is just gonna slap my ass, and I'm gonna have a great time, and it's probably gonna scare me. And it did. It checked all of those boxes, and this goes against like everything I believe in. But if they wanted to make another movie off of this one, they absolutely could, and it wouldn't spoil the rest of the Omen at all.
Yeah,
The 3 girls got out,
yeah. Follow
and I
them.
love
I
it.
want to see that. I
Right.
actually would not mind that movie. I would love to see
At
that
all.
movie.
I would watch it happily. And like I just don't feel that way about a lot of stuff because a lot of times they come in and they do it stupid, but there was so much respect. There was
Mhm.
so much respect put on this, and I love it. I already have seen it again. And yep, it's going up there on the list of movies that I can keep watching. So 4.5 chuds.
Yay.
Yay. We'll see if there's more haunted nun movies in the future. But in the meantime, you can find this podcast on the interweb at ghostinthemagazine.site. You can find it on Instagram at GITM Podcast. You can find me on Instagram at stefspecter.
And you can find me at Nocturnical.
Okay, bye.